Hey guys, I'm really excited to be here with naked face, sweaty, um, messed up hair post workout, and all those things because we're going to talk about something that's really real and we're going to peel back the layers of not talking about it and shame and maybe embarrassment that come from having digestive issues. So, I have had digestive issues my entire life. I remember getting up in the middle of the night to have very difficult time going to the bathroom and going to my parents and wake them up and being like, there's blood, or I was very constipated, I was uncomfortable. And for me, being constipated as a huge trigger for actually overeating psychologically, like I just need to push everything out. And I didn't realize that as a kid, and I didn't realize that as I got older until later. And healing my gut and even understanding that all the Diet Coke that I was getting as an overweight kid in the 80s was actually destroying all my good gut flora. And I had chronic ear infections also because I was in an environment where there was a smoker. And that was really, really bad for me. And I have a smoke allergy, in fact. And I was constantly getting congested, also from the food I was eating, also from the environment and pollutants. All these things that then were causing me to have more and more antibiotics, because that's what they used to do when you got an ear infection, right? They give you antibiotics, which again, killing any chance of good bacteria in my stomach, which led and led and led to me being an overweight kid. So that even when I was eating great foods, I wasn't maximizing them nutritionally. And when I was eating poor choices, which definitely happened a lot, it was feeding all the negative bacteria in my gut, which was just making the situation worse and worse and worse, putting on more weight, feeling like diets weren't working, healthy food didn't work, nothing worked. And so just drinking more Diet Coke, but having a Twix bar and feeling in high school like that was okay, so my scale didn't go up. And then getting into the calorie counting and the Weight Watchers and the points and all that stuff without fixing my digestion never really gave me any kind of sustainable results, because that digestive flora is a blueprint for how your genes are going to react in your body and how things are going to turn on and how things are going to turn out for you, what your cravings are going to be like, how much nutrition you're actually going to get from the vegetables you're eating, how sugar is going to be deposited as fat stores or stored in your muscles for energy. All these things are determined through your gut, and there's more and more and more and more research about how much immunity, how much disease, how much all of these things are coming from your gut flora. And for a lot of us, we've lived a lifetime with environmental pollutants. Now there's cell phone pollution, there's toxicity all around us. And if you are like me and you were a diet soda person and you were a refined sugar person, so then there's a lot of stuff in there that has killed off a lot of the good bacteria in your stomach. And there's a lot of negative stuff in there that has taken over your stomach. So the bad news is that is why sometimes you feel like you're doing all the right things and you're pre-diabetic and your cholesterol is high and you're overweight and you feel like you're not eating that bad. The nutrition choices just aren't that bad or bad like often enough. And I'm saying bad because I'm saying, like, we're not talking about a piece of birthday cake on your birthday. We're talking about like having candy for lunch. Okay. That's not productive. We'll call it destructive. But in general, we don't like to use bad and good around food. But come on, let's be honest. When you're eating a candy bar instead of eating lunch, it's not a good choice. Okay. So how do we fix it? And you're in this group because you care about fixing it. You care about mastering your health, and you care about creating an environment in your home that hopefully is promoting better health and a better life story for your family. Or if you don't have a family yet, for your future. Shakeology has been a huge part of this for me and for a number of reasons. And you can take this and then apply it out from just Shakeology. But really, after having my fifth baby, that was when I was introduced to Shakeology. And I was very, very skeptical because I took a lot of those superfoods already that were in Shakeology separately. And I was not really as convinced that all their independent research and all their stuff, like, was this for real? And did it matter how much of each superfood I was having? Did it matter how much prebiotics to probiotics I was having? And let's talk about that for a minute, because that's kind of the key source when we talk about gut health. There's good bacteria in our stomach. That is what breaks down the food and the nutrients and allows them to be absorbed into our body. And so we want more and more of that food. The more we have of that, the more of the actual vegetables and protein and whole grains that we eat are actually into our bloodstream and building up the body that we want and giving us the energy that we want. And when we don't have as much of that, even though we're eating the healthy food, more of it's actually passing through us without the nutrients being taken out. And that's where you get into celiac disease and all sorts of other diseases that affect your gut and your intestinal tract. But right now, we're just focusing on pre and probiotics. So prebiotics are actually the food that feeds good bacteria, the kind that we want in our stomach, the kind that don't give us sugar cravings, the kind that don't encourage our body to store what we eat as fat, the good kind that are pro a healthy, active, positive immune response to diseases, protecting our health lifestyle. Then you have probiotics. Probiotics are the actual bacteria that you want in there. So you want to get in the good bacteria, and then you want to feed them so that they can fight all the bad bacteria in your stomach. And if you've ever heard of different, kind of more holistic-y diseases, like people who talk about that they have all sorts of other IBS, but it's undefined, or people who can't have sugar or carbohydrates or have to be on all sorts of different diets because of their gut flora. That's what we're talking about. So when you're eating more veggies and you're getting the probiotics that are in Shakeology that are exactly formulated to create a good system in there, you also have to be taking care of drinking enough water, eating good fruits and vegetables, eating whole grains, and limiting the amount of sugar you're taking in so that you're starving the bacteria that survives and thrives on the negative foods that we eat. And remember, if you're doing the good stuff, but still eating the good stuff, the stuff that's feeding the enemy bacteria, you're not really going to have the balance that you want. We're all going to be eating some meat sometimes. We're all going to have a balance in our stomach of all kinds of bacteria. And you don't want to have none of those either, because sometimes our body does need to store food as fuel, right? Like food as fat, like that's normal and healthy. And we wouldn't want to go the other way crazy. But we have to have an equilibrium there. And that happens through making Shakeology a daily part of your life. With Shakeology is not a magic solution, but it is part of a complete solution of health. And what I have come to see over the years of Shakeology is that they do so much freaking independent testing, and they are constantly tweaking the recipe. And at first I was very annoyed by this, because this is why it does not have kosher certification yet, because they are constantly changing the recipe. And kosher certification requires it to keep the same recipe constantly. For example, now 2020, with the advent of 4G, all of the science and all the studies were showing them that was actually affecting your gut bacteria. And so they've increased the amount of probiotics that's in Shakeology as of 2020 in the new formula. And they're actually increasing also the matcha green tea that is in Shakeology, the matcha part. So it's not going to have a higher caffeine level, but the phytonutrients, those super greens that make that matcha, that super green color, are actually incredible in helping a certain kind of good bacteria in your stomach grow. And so they've adjusted that, and they're in testing and testing and testing, and it's going to be released in 2020. And that constant testing every single person who they source those superfoods from. When you buy superfoods in pills at the grocery store, at the health food store, you have no idea what kind of testing, what kind of cleanliness those plants are using. And Beachbody takes this stuff very seriously. And so if with independent testing they ever find a problem, they immediately switch distributors. And that is, again, why it's a problem with kosher certification, and why you need to speak to your religious official if you need kosher certification, like I did, and therefore spoke to my rabbi about vegan Shakeology. I hope this was really helpful for you guys, and you're going to take this with into the week when you think about making a food choice, and not just thinking about Shakeology, but when you have food on your plate and you want to decide what you're going to eat, think, am I going to feed the foods that are going to make my body healthier and do more with the foods I'm eating? Or am I going to give myself that candy bar, which is actually only going to make me crave more candy and make the broccoli I ate beforehand less and less effective? You decide.